Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. Today we're diving into something truly mind-bending. We're going to look at how some fascinating thinkers and authors draw a direct line between the impossible mysteries of quantum mechanics and the hidden power of your very own subconscious mind. That's right, we are bridging the gap between subatomic particles and your everyday thoughts. Let's get right into it. Here is a quick look at our roadmap for today. First, the quantum revolution. Second, the double-slit mystery. Third, the observer effect. Fourth, mind and matter. And finally, number 5, harnessing the subconscious.
All right, starting off with Section 1, the quantum revolution.
So, for centuries, right, we basically thought of the universe as this giant, highly predictable machine. But look at how fast classical physics just got completely turned on its head. In 1801, Thomas Young shows us that light actually acts like a wave. Then, jump to 1905, and Albert Einstein suggests light is made up of these individual packets of energy, or quanta, which is what we call photons today. By 1913, Niels Bohr is out there proving that atoms operate on these totally mysterious quantum leaps. And by the 1920s, well, a whole new mathematical framework literally had to be invented just to explain a reality that completely defied our everyday logic.
And this quote right here brilliantly captures the philosophical shockwave all of this caused. The legendary psychologist Carl Jung said, "Nuclear physics has robbed the basic units of matter of their absolute concreteness. It has made matter mysterious." You see, what the authors in our source material are pointing out is that this revolutionary shift meant a totally different, seemingly irrational reality was discovered hiding just behind our normal natural world. Matter wasn't just solid chunks of stuff anymore. It was dynamic, it was interchangeable with energy, and honestly, it was just deeply, deeply strange.
Which brings us to Section 2, the double-slit mystery. Okay, so in the famously bizarre double-slit experiment, scientists shoot a beam of electrons, which are, particles of matter, at a screen with 2 narrow slits in it. Now, if electrons were just like tiny little marbles, you totally expect them to go straight through those slits and just form 2 solid bands on the back wall, right? But that is not what happens. Instead, the beam splits into 2 sets of waves that actually interact and interfere with each other.
And those interacting waves create what we call an interference pattern. It's a series of multiple bright and dark bands. In some spots, the waves reinforce each other, and in other spots, they just completely cancel each other out. Now, this result absolutely baffled scientists at the time. Why? Because it proves something completely incredible. It shows that matter, down at its most fundamental level, has what we call wave-particle duality. Basically, it acts as a wave and a particle at the exact same time. Wild, right?
And that brings us to this absolutely crucial concept, superposition. Before we actually measure or observe an electron, it doesn't even have a fixed location. It is essentially the swirling sea of infinite possibilities, existing as a mixture of all possible probabilistic states all at once. It's really only when we interact with it that it sort of condenses down into a single physical reality. Now, definitely keep this in mind, because this is the core scientific metaphor our authors use for understanding human potential. Moving right along to Section 3, the observer effect. I'm sure you've probably seen this optical illusion before, right? Depending on how you look at it, you either see a young woman looking away or an older woman looking down. Well, Niels Bohr actually used this exact idea to explain the principle of complementarity. The idea is, just like you can only perceive one face at a time depending on your own perspective, the observer is actually what determines whether a quantum object behaves as a wave or a particle. The fundamental nature of the object is complementary to how you actually choose to measure it. And this leads us to what physicists call the Copenhagen interpretation. Simply put, it says that the very act of observation is what collapses that wave of infinite probabilities into a single concrete material reality. Now, the authors of our sources interpret this to mean that you literally cannot separate the observer from the object being observed. The experimenter, the lab equipment, the particle itself, they are all deeply interconnected. The implication here is that without an observer, the universe is just pure potential. Which transitions us beautifully into Section 4, mind and matter. The great quantum physicist Wolfgang Pauli actually stated this pretty plainly. He said, "The science of microphysics has therefore to abandon in principle any objective understanding of physical phenomena." Now, Pauli actually collaborated with Carl Jung, and together they saw a massive parallel here. Think about it. If physics itself can't eliminate the observer from the equation, then maybe, just maybe, meaning human intention and the mind itself are fundamentally woven right into the fabric of reality.
So the authors we're exploring today use this massive scientific paradigm shift as a really profound metaphor. Their argument is that if the quantum world is this web of potentials just waiting for an observer, then maybe the universe itself is an interconnected web that literally perceives our intention and then updates itself accordingly. So instead of a universe driven purely by strict mechanical cause and effect, they see a universe that actively responds to the mind.
And that brings us to our final part, Section 5, Harnessing the Subconscious.
Now we get to the practical stuff. Dr. Joseph Murphy uses this brilliant analogy to break down how the mind works. Think of your conscious mind as the captain on the bridge of a ship. It's rational, it decides the direction, and it gives the orders. Your subconscious mind, on the other hand, is the engine room. It's totally irrational, and it doesn't argue with the captain. It just blindly executes whatever orders it's given, controlling all the vital functions of the ship. Basically, the subconscious mind accepts whatever the conscious mind believes to be true, and then works 24/7 to manifest that into reality. According to our source text, when it is properly directed, the subconscious mind is capable of some pretty incredible things. Murphy claims it can heal the body. He actually even cites his own recovery from a severe illness as proof. He says it can be directed to attract wealth and business success, foster deeply harmonious relationships, and, get this, even solve complex problems while you're fast asleep. The whole idea here is that just as a quantum wave collapses into a single physical reality, your subconscious collapses your dominant everyday thoughts into your actual life experiences. And this all hinges on what he calls the law of faith. Now, Murphy is very, very clear about this. We are not talking about a specific religion or a dogma or some kind of ritual. This is purely a psychological law of acceptance and mental receptivity. It's the belief in your own mind that actually brings the results. So whatever you subjectively accept and truly feel to be true, your subconscious mind will systematically go to work to bring that right into your environment. Okay, so how do we actually apply this? What's the big takeaway? Well, here are some highly actionable steps from the text to help you train your own engine room. First, stop all negative statements immediately. Literally never finish a negative sentence. The source shares this great little anecdote about a college student who saw this really expensive travel bag she wanted in a store window. Instead of saying, "Oh, I can't afford that," she stopped herself, inverted the thought, and said, "This bag is mine. I accept it mentally." Through repetition and deep emotional visualization, she aligned her subconscious. And amazingly, later that exact same day, her fiancé ended up gifting her that very bag. We've covered a lot of ground today, journeying all the way from the puzzling behavior of subatomic electrons to the immense untapped power of human belief. So I want to leave you with this final, somewhat provocative thought. If the observer truly does collapse the wave of infinite possibilities into a single reality, what reality are your daily habitual thoughts observing into existence right now? Are you focusing on your limitations, or are you focusing on infinite potential? Something to chew on. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and as always, keep exploring.